Hello everyone and welcome. I am Lelu and today let's create a tornado effect in Godot. Chaos and rhythm fused into one. This is the art of nature in its pure sense. In this tutorial, I will guide you step by step through the process of creating this tornado entirely from scratch. And I will also give you some optimization tips in case you need to use this effect in VR or mobile video games. Also, if you are looking into even more effects, I have created a collection of additional tornado effects that is available in my website. In case you are interested, there's the link below. So, without further ado, let's get started. Let's start creating a simple tornado model for our effect. I will use Blender to do this, but you can use any 3D software you want. So I want to delete all this and Ctrl A to create a cylinder mesh. And I want this cylinder to have 24 vertices, and I want this to be a hollow cylinder. Let's go to edit mode, move the cylinder up, grab the upper part and move it up, expand it. Now let's Ctrl R to add some cuts. Let's add some cuts at the bottom as well. Now I will use the soft proportional editing tool in sharp mode so I can expand the base and the top, like so. You can also use the mouse wheel to control the propagation of the editing tool. Cool. I will show you the secret to make this tornado look much more dynamic. The trick is I will move the base out just a little bit. So I want to make sure that the tornado has a little bit of curvature like this. Maybe you are wondering why I am doing this, but you will see the reason why in a moment. Let's also press W. Shade smooth. Okay. I will select the upper part and twist it a lot. Something like this. Excellent. Now look what happened if I rotate this object. And also look at this. When I add any texture to this tornado, it follows the direction of the tornado. See? This is like the secret sauce to create a nice looking tornado. Alright, let's export this guy as an OBJ. I will name it Static Mesh Tornado. Now let's go back to Godot and I will import my tornado mesh. I also will import some textures to play with. I will leave the link in the description so you can use them as well. Let's drag the tornado into the scene, and in this case I don't want it to cast shadows, so I will disable shadows. Cool. Now I will add a material and create a shader, a visual shader, and I will name it shader_tornado. Okay, now let's open the shader. And I want to do some changes to this shader. For example, I want it to be unshaded. And I want the cool mode to be disabled. So now we can see both sides of the cylinder tornado mesh. Cool. So now let's right click and look for a textured 2D parameter. And let's name it base texture. This will be a color texture and it will be repetitive. So now let's extract this texture and connect it into the alpha transparency channel. We go to the material. Let's assign a texture to this parameter. For example, this one. Great. So now I want this texture to move. So I will right click and create a UV panning node. So now I can go ahead and create a vector 2 parameter. and let's name it speed XY. And I also need a time. So now I can multiply my speed value with my time value. And now I can assign a speed. Let's try, for example, with a value of minus 0.5 and 1. Okay, we are getting something. You know what? I don't like to see these ugly, hard edges of the tornado cylinder mesh. So in order to fix that, I want to add another texture. So let's move this guy over here. And I want to duplicate this. But this will be named subtraction texture. And this will not be repetitive. But I want to subtract this new texture to this texture. And this time I want to create a gradient 2D texture. And I want this texture, this gradient texture, to be vertical, like so. And let's also modify this gradient a bit. So I only want the edges to disappear, the edges of this texture. Like so. But as you can see, this has a weird bug. As you can see, the edges looks really dark and it's not disappearing at all. And this is because we are getting negative values with this very strong subtraction texture. So in order to fix that, we will need to create a clamp node. Right now, we only need to add a nice color and maybe some more control over the transparency of the texture. And maybe let me expand this so I can get some more space, because I want to create another texture. So right click and create a texture to the parameter. And let's name this color 1D gradient. Set the type to color, and I don't want this to be repetitive. So yep, I want to use a gradient color to control the color of the tornado and also the transparency. And the way I will do this is by extracting this texture and I want to connect this result right here into my UV value. And I want to connect the color over here and the transparency alpha value over here. So we are now controlling the colors with this gradient texture that we can assign here. So I will create a gradient texture 1D, and now I can go ahead and modify this gradient. For example, I can make it red, and I can add some blue color as well over here. And maybe this will be a transparent value. You can also enable this HDRI option if you want and really push the intensity of the colors a lot. I will play with these values and see if I can get a nice bluish wind tornado. Maybe I can add a strong white and a semi-transparent blue as well. Maybe I can try using a different texture as well. Let's try with this one. Okay, I like this one. Now I just want to add one more thing to control the transparency of the tornado. So let me expand this graph a little bit so we can see all the shader. And I just want to go ahead and right click and create a float parameter. and I will name this one opacity. And this will be in a range between 0 and 1 with a default value of 1. So all I want to do is to go ahead and take the transparency so I can multiply the transparency of the tornado with my opacity value. All right. So this is the shader. And now I should be able to control the opacity of the tornado over here, like so. So we can make the tornado appear and disappear with this slider, and also with a script. Cool. It's basically done, but there is one important thing I would like to mention about the transparency and the performance of the game. And in this case, because we have this tornado, which is double-sided, double transparent, which is okay because we only have one tornado. But in case you have many tornadoes and smokes and transparent materials, this can cause something called overdraw. Overdraw occurs when multiple objects or layers overlap and stack up on screen, causing the same pixel to be drawn more than once in a single frame. Most game engines usually have optimization techniques to handle this, like Occlusion Culling and Frustum Culling. The engine hides all the objects behind the walls and outside of the camera view, helping to avoid unnecessary pixel rendering. Now the problem is when we are using transparent materials like a glass, fog, or wind. These effects require blending, so they can't be easily skipped by the graphics pipeline. This usually isn't a big deal on PCs or consoles, but if you are developing a game for mobile, VR, or web browsers, you need to be very, very careful not to stack too many transparent layers. Otherwise, overdraw can seriously hurt performance. So I want to show you a secret technique to avoid overdraw in this tornado, just in case you are developing a mobile video game with a lot of tornadoes and smoke, or a game with a very critical low performance issues. I will show you one way to solve this. And what we can do is, instead of using a full transparent or semi-transparent material, we can use an alpha clipping material, which doesn't has transparency at all. So what I'm going to do is to, instead of using this opacity to control the alpha, I will just delete this and connect once again the transparency of the texture in the alpha channel. But I want to connect this opacity value. Let's actually name this alpha scissor threshold instead, and I will connect this over here. So automatically now the tornado is not transparent. It is just only or full opaque or full nothing. And we can control that threshold with this parameter. So it's not transparent. We don't have a nice looking transparent wind effect, but this is actually pretty good and it doesn't look bad at all. And yeah, if you are developing a video game for mobile, you can do this instead. Just connect this parameter into the alpha threshold. And now I want to modify this once again because now it looks like water and I don't want water tornado. So let me reduce the saturation of the colors so it looks like wind. Okay. So that's basically it for the shader. So yeah, I will definitely recommend you to use this shader instead, connecting this value here if you are developing a mobile, VR, or browser video game. Cool. So finally, let's close the shader. We don't need this anymore. So now I want to make this tornado rotate in the y-axis so it looks more interesting. And in order to do that, I want to create an animation player, and maybe I can also create a node 3D. So I can put everything inside the node 3D just to keep everything organized, and I will name it VFX Tornado. So now I can go ahead and create a new animation. Let's name it Spinning Loop. I want this animation to be 0.8 seconds long, to have an auto start, and to be repetitive. So I want the animation, at the beginning of the animation, I want my tornado to have a rotation of 0, 0, 0. And at the end of the animation, I want my tornado to rotate 300 and... No, wait. In Blender, we twist the tornado into a counterclockwise deformation. So it will rotate into... No, wait. Okay, sorry about that. I just got confused with the direction of the tornado. In this case, the tornado will rotate to minus 360 degrees at the end of the animation. So now it goes like this, but I will need to adjust the speed of the texture to match with this rotation of the tornado in the opposite direction. So let's give it a speed value of minus 1.2 and 2. All right. Okay, that's basically it. The tornado is completed. I just want to add one more thing, because I don't like the way this tornado transition with the floor. Like, it looks ugly. And also, if you are working in a first-person game, the bottom of the tornado really matters, since players will be seeing it up close a lot. So it's a good idea to add something extra, like smoke or spinning waves. I am going with some wave motion in this case. That means we need a new mesh. Let's hop into Blender and quickly create a simple wave shape. Alright, I want to do basically the same, so let me go ahead and delete these things. And I want to Shift A to create a new cylinder. And I want this cylinder to have 24 vertices, a depth of 1, and I want it to be hollowed. Also, now let's press W so I can shade smooth, and press Tab to edit mode so I can move this cylinder up a little bit. Select the upper part, expand it a little bit, press Ctrl R to add a few loops. And now I want to use the proportional editing tool once again, so I can go ahead and twist this mesh, go and export this object as an OBJ. I will name it Static Mesh Waves Tornado. Alright, so now we can go ahead and import our new waves mesh into Godot. We will use it in a moment, but first let me go ahead and create a particle system. If you are developing on mobile or VR, probably you want to choose CPU particles, since those devices doesn't have a strong graphics card. But in this case, I want to do it for computer or consoles, so I will choose a GPU particle. And in order for this particle to work, we need to create a particle process material, and we need to assign a mesh. So I can go ahead and put my waves. And as you can see, we have a lot of waves falling down. This is because of the gravity. So let's go to the particle process material and set the gravity to 0. Instead, I want these waves to go up. So I will go to spawn velocity and set a velocity in the y-axis with a random value between 0 and 3. Also, in order to give it some interesting variation, let's go to particle flags, enable rotation, and give it a random angle between minus 180 and 180. And also, I want these waves to have a lifetime of 0.5 seconds and 60 FPS. Now let's go down to geometry and disable shadows and create a new shader, a visual shader, and I will name it shader basic dissolver. And let's open the shader. Oops. So for this shader, I want the cool mode to be disabled so we can see both sides of the cylinder. And I also want it to be unshaded. And this will be a very super simple shader. All I need for this shader is a texture 2D parameter. Let's name it base texture. And connect it to control the alpha transparency of the cylinder. And I also want to get the particle color information. So I want this cylinder to be colored with the particles color. And I also want to use the particle alpha value to control the alpha scissor threshold value of the transparency. And this is it. This is the shader. So now we can go back to the particles, to the material, assign any texture. Let's try with this one. And now we need to go to the particle process material and create an alpha curve so we can control the alpha value of the alpha scissor threshold. And we can control the alpha transparency with this curve. And I want it to be full opaque at the beginning and then to disappear at the end. But I want this to be more soft. So maybe something like so. Okay, it's looking good. Now let's give it a color. Maybe I can just increase the intensity of the color. Let's put an intensity of 1.5. And now I can create a gradient color. So I want this gradient, these waves, to be a quite bluish, darkish at the beginning. And don't be afraid to experiment. Change the colors, try using different textures. I just want to show you the way, but you have to put your own creativity so you can get your own unique tornadoes for your game. Okay, maybe now I can go ahead and increase the scale a little bit. And also I want to create a curve to control this scale over the time. So these waves start being small and then go big, like so. Finally, I can make this rotate by giving it some angular velocity. Excellent. Finally, let's name this one base waves. And maybe I can also duplicate these waves and put it also at the top. And don't forget to once again activate the spinning loop animation so we can see the whole effect. Okay, this is great. And this can also move, like so. Maybe we don't want this upper part to move. So let's go to the top waves, and I want to go to drawing and enable local coordinates so this stays in place. And there you have it, a cool tornado effect that's not just visually powerful, but also optimized for performance. And the possibilities are a lot. You can make a sandstorm, a wicked tornado, fire tornadoes, and more, like all these tornadoes that I have done for my website and my patrons. So that's essentially it, guys. I hope you have learned something cool today. Thanks for watching. See you.